So I've been thinking about nuclear energy, and it's an interesting time to be thinking about it because we're dealing with, the Japanese are dealing with this huge crisis. But for a while, I softened up to nuclear energy just because of how bad, the petrochemical economy is for us. I wonder if we got all gung-ho with nuclear energy, maybe we wouldn't have 40-year-old plants. Maybe we would have been rebuilding them and updating them faster and had more more of a focus on that rather than, here's this energy, this incredibly powerful energy source, and we're just like, no, we don't want to deal with that, but we'll go ahead and do it. So it's kind of became a sort of a back burner thing where really it has to be a focus of something you're doing really, really carefully. I think the real problem with something like with the nuclear energy is a problem we have with all of our sectors, which is just the businesses, the way businesses operate, and it's like all of these power companies end up having these violations and things they've tried to cover up and hide. It's because they're doing that 24/7. They can't just stop those ones because they're really pushing these rules and these interpretations and things 24/7. And so it's inevitable. So it's hard to think of a private enterprise in our world taking the kind of care over the long run. Yeah, maybe it'll do it when it opens the plants, but 30 years later, when there's not been accidents, they're going to take that lack of accidents and turn it into their own personal profit and keep pushing it. It's not like if you have no accidents in a dangerous enterprise, they go, great, we got to keep doing that. It's like, oh no, we could probably narrow that. And they will naturally narrow it until the point where there's an accident, and they find, oh, we couldn't narrow it quite that much. That's how capitalism works and the way we have it set up. It doesn't necessarily have to. So it's hard to picture us doing something that has to be done as carefully as nuclear energy. And it's sad because as dangerous as it is, as much as nuclear energy could not be the end energy that we use, we need more renewable and clean energies. But comparing nuclear energy, which has waste, to the cost of the oil economy, it could be they're both dangerous, and nuclear is better, but we just don't have what it takes as an enterprise embarking creature. But if we did, I could see various things. One, why your control rooms should not be below sea level. Your redundant systems should not all be somewhere that could be swamped. You could have diesel generators in cubes with oxygen tanks and stuff. Plus, there's newer nuclear plant designs that, like I had said earlier, can cool off on their own without AC power, at least for, days and days at a time. I think a main one would be not having such big reactors, like somebody pointed out, and I was thinking about this before this whole disaster with some friends, and like, well, what if you just have small reactors in town like ours? We could have just a nuclear sub could probably power our island, And what about that? What about your nuclear reactors and subs that come and go, every couple of years, is constantly maintained? No 40 years old design, Considering the tsunami, that might not be exactly the best idea. If you had warning, it would be great to have a power plant in the sub because you could head out to sea. But of course, you don't always have warning. Even so, these things are pretty tough, so it's hard to imagine. Its diesel generator's not going to get swamped because of a tsunami. But it could be tumbled and turned and tore apart. These tsunamis can be pretty powerful. But like the tsunami we just saw wouldn't have harmed a sub. And those things have a little tiny bit, a golf ball's worth of, I think someone told me, I think I might have heard that before. It's a very small amount of fuel. There's only so much wrong that can go if you do lose control of it. So, I could see nuclear power as being careful enough. The problem is with our culture, it's not careful enough. We just don't have what it takes to be careful because we pass this over to people that are looking for profit that always is going to lead them to be tempted to sacrifice on safety. And And that's the real problem. It's not that we couldn't do something inherently risky like nuclear energy successfully, but it does look like we won't, because we're addicted to this system where we always push things to the limit of the crisis, and then we endure the crisis and we try to react. And nuclear energy is just not one of those things that work that way. We could ruin huge amounts of our planet taking that, traditional organic approach to our endeavors.